So, welcome back, everyone. We are joined once again for a cryptocurrency recap by Dave Zeiler, our Monday morning cryptocurrency expert. Now, Dave, in the past couple of days, there's been a lot of high-profile news in the markets. First off is the Fed rate cut, which put a lot of pressure on the markets on Wednesday going into Thursday. And then Trump decided to pile on with his new tariffs on $300 billion in Chinese goods. So, how has this impacted Bitcoin? Is it good? Is it bad? What's been going on?
Well, Bitcoin has reacted in much of a similar way as gold reacts to it, in that it went up. And in particular, yesterday, when Trump made that announcement, which I think took the markets by surprise, the markets had been up on the day. They ended up down. The Dow was down 280 points. Today, they're down like another 280 points. Meanwhile, after the announcement, Bitcoin went up about $500, which is about a 5% move for Bitcoin, which is pretty big. And gold went up as well, which shows that Bitcoin is starting to react the way gold does, which is like a store of value and a safe haven.
Yeah. So now that we're seeing a lot more kind of similarities in Bitcoin's performance to more traditional commodities or investment opportunities, how much of these price movements, especially these big ones, like 5% is a lot, how much of this has been driven by bigger names in investment, like hedge funds or investment firms or anything?
More than it used to be. When you go back a few years, there were very few of these institutional investors involved in Bitcoin. But when you had 2017, the price went up, it got their attention, and they started to look at it. And more, we're seeing these guys get involved, and there are a lot of very big players who've been involved in Bitcoin for several years. People don't think about this, but you've got these Wall Street types who are now paying a lot more attention to Bitcoin. They're doing stuff with Bitcoin, and this is something that people don't really think about a whole lot. People should pay more attention to it because these are guys who in many cases have built reputations on Wall Street. Over the course of decades, they've been traders and analysts. And all of a sudden, they're getting interested in this totally new asset. They don't need to do that. They already have established careers. They're very wealthy and successful guys. Why are they getting involved in Bitcoin? Well, it tells me that they see a lot of potential in Bitcoin as an investment. And this is one of the things that's going to be driving it as we go forward.
So, do you have any specific names or people you're watching or tracking as all of this develops?
Well, there's a lot of people, but there's a couple that I want to point to in particular. One is Peter Brandt. He's a very well-known commodity trader. He's been at it since the late 1970s. He spoke at the Consensus Conference up in New York that I went to in May. And he has taken a very big interest in Bitcoin. He's been talking about it a lot. He makes charts about it, and he's also predicting that it will hit $100,000 in a couple of years. Now, when somebody like Peter Brandt says that, it means a lot more to me than if it was some guy like we have all these people who've been involved in Bitcoin, the geeks and the libertarians and so forth. They don't have that kind of experience that he has. He's been doing this for decades. They might say, well, Bitcoin's going to $100,000 or $1 million or whatever they think it is. When he says it means a lot more to me. It has a lot more credibility because he's been studying investments and commodities for a long time. If he thinks it's got the potential to do that, that's telling me a whole lot about the validity of this as an investment class.
Anyone else?
Yeah, the other person that I'm looking at is Mike Novogratz, who is an ex-hedge fund manager and a billionaire, and he's very much interested in the Bitcoin space. He was just on CNBC yesterday talking about Bitcoin and describing it as digital gold, which a lot of people do. But for him to do it, again, he's got the experience. He was a hedge fund manager. He's a Wall Street guy. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to investing. And he sees Bitcoin as a legit investment. And he sees it as, if not taking the place of gold, at least existing alongside of gold as a store of value and a safe haven investment.
Great. Well, thanks so much for these insights and, laying out a little bit of how kind of bigger names have been jumping into the Bitcoin space. And also, you just wrote an article all about some of these bigger names and the price predictions, many of them saying it's going to go to 100,000 by 2021.
Well, yes, it's. I had noticed that I was seeing increasingly predictions for Bitcoin at $100,000 within a couple of years. And then when I looked into it, I noticed that a lot of these people were, in fact, people who had Wall Street kinds of experience.
All right, so you can find that article in the description above. And thanks so much for joining us. We're skipping next week, but we'll be back the week after that.
That's right. Thank you, Josh.
All right.